Hi, dear Toastmasters, guests, and friends. Welcome to Toastmasters, the world's biggest platform to hone your leadership skills and communication skills. We are District 31. I am Veera Sriram, your public relations manager, and I welcome you to Open Heart with District 31. On our talk show tonight, we have a Toastmaster who's a distinguished Toastmaster. Distinguished Toastmaster is the highest level a Toastmaster can achieve in the Toastmasters curriculum. Without any further ado, let me welcome my guest tonight, Toastmaster Bill, onto our talk show. Toastmaster Bill, how are you doing?
Great. Thanks very much, Vera.
Toastmaster Bill, I ask all my friends this one question: your Toastmasters journey. Where did it start? How did it start? Would you like to share your Toastmasters journey?
Thank you. Well, I was always anxious about public speaking as a child and then up through half of my professional career. But halfway through my career, I took a new job. And about 6 months in, my boss came to me and said, Bill, I'd like you to go around the country and start giving training to groups of 100 to 200 people. I was petrified. I had always been petrified about public speaking. So I knew I had to do something. I had always heard about Toastmasters, but I was too afraid to even try it. But I looked up where there was one, and at my local library there was one. And I went there and I peeked around the corner, hoping they wouldn't see me and I could run away. But someone saw me and said, "Are you looking for Toastmasters? You've come to the right place." So I was trapped. So I went in, and of course, eventually I gave my icebreaker, and everyone was very nice. Of course, my icebreaker, I made sure I had a thick stack of index cards in case I forgot who I was. I was so nervous. I hung on to the lectern like I was going to die. But gradually I gave more and more speeches, started taking roles at the meetings and roles in the club. And I just more and more got into it. And the people were all very nice, and it was fun. I threw myself into it with the contests. I like to go into all the contests, particularly the humorous speech contests. I enjoyed that. And back in 2003, I was fortunate enough, I won the district humorous speech contest. So that was nice. That was fun. I must have practiced that speech 300 times at home, but it always struck me as funny. So I just kept doing it and doing it. And, my wife walked by and I was listening to the recording and she said, "Now there's a man who likes to hear himself talk." But and then I took roles other than in my club. I became the area director and then the Division A director. And I've done things like lead a youth leadership program for a bunch of fifth graders. That was a challenge. And then I was a club coach a little while ago for club here. And then last year I received my Distinguished Toastmaster Award. So that was good. Currently, I'm working with a psychologist friend. We're trying to work up a seminar on performance anxiety to help other people with performance anxiety. So I've kind of come full circle.
Thank you, Toastmaster Bill, for sharing your experiences and the different roles that you've taken in Toastmasters. It is not very common that every Toastmaster gets the opportunity to play so many roles. Thank you for stepping up and serving our district. Congratulations on winning the humorous speech contest in 2003. Toastmaster Bill, there is a reason why you joined Toastmasters and you shared that. What keeps you at Toastmasters? What keeps you going, giving a speech, getting the evaluation? Can you share the reason?
Well, I enjoy it. I enjoy speaking. I enjoy leading. I enjoy the people that are in my club. We have 3 people in my club who have been there for 25 years or more, and we're the oldest club in the district, number 508. And I found that it made me more confident as far as and more outgoing. Really, it really kind of changed me. I used to be very shy, for example, with things at parties, but now I can talk to anyone about anything, and it really helped me in my job because I learned things that I could do the training with. I learned things about stories and gestures and pauses and humor. And that made the training go very well. And I received promotions and various awards that I feel were directly related to the speaking I was doing. Whenever my organization had some kind of event where they needed a master of ceremonies, I would always be the one who gets called, if it was Diversity Day or something like that. And I would always be the one to do that. And I enjoyed it. It was interesting. One time, a guy, coworker, came up to me and said, "Bill, you're the best MC I've ever seen." I thought that was strange. Then I thought of it. If you're not a Toastmaster,
Yeah.
what we do normally in Toastmasters, it, it makes you look like LeBron James. Because people who aren't Toastmasters, they don't know what they're doing. They don't know. Should I shake someone's hand? Who's going to applaud? Who's going to start it? It's a mess. But we just do the simple things. We give an introduction. We start the applause. We shake their hands. And you look like a star. So it's very easy. One of the things, going back to the confidence thing, one time I was going down to North Carolina to give some training. And I got off the plane, and my luggage didn't. And my luggage had my presentation. It was a 2-hour presentation with about 120 PowerPoint slides.
Wow.
At first, I panicked. I said,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm in trouble."
Yeah.
But then I thought, wait a minute, I'm a Toastmaster. And so I grabbed a legal pad of paper and I just started writing, I'll do this and this and this and this and this. And I had it all planned out. I was actually disappointed the next morning when they came and they delivered my luggage. So I went ahead because I had all the PowerPoint slides, so I used them anyway. But it gave me the confidence to be able to handle problems like that and just keep going.
Contingency.
Job interviews was something that always was a problem with me. I always used to be petrified of job interviews. I would answer questions at an interview like with one-word answers, like yes, no. Not a good way to give a first impression. But the last one I had, after having done table topics for many years, there was 5 people there interviewing me, and I was like, okay, try and stump me. Completely different situation, completely comfortable with it. And of course, there's many other things, like just day-to-day stuff. If you have little conflicts with neighbors or little fender benders in a parking lot, being able to go and just comfortably talk to people, even though it might be a conflict type situation. And so it keeps me going because I like to think that I keep getting better at it and I keep my skills up.
Thank you for sharing life experiences with Toastmasters. That was actually my second round, is the impact of Toastmasters, but I think on social lives and professional life, I think you talked about that. Toastmaster Bill, is there any other example that you would like to share from a personal life? The impact of Toastmaster on your personal life.
Well, there's always important events in the world, like being able to speak at my daughter's wedding, being able to speak at retirement ceremonies of people I know. And of course, funerals. These are, major life events. And it's important to be able to do that. Recently, I went to a party. It was a graduation party for a neighbor's daughter graduating high school. And it was kind of strange because no one ever spoke up. No one had the guts, if you will, to get up and say, thank you for coming. She's off to college. I mean, nothing. So it was very strange. So it's important to be able to get up and speak. And, and there were times at work where, there were difficult situations with downsizing, people had to speak up to management. And as they say, tell the truth to power, which a lot of people are afraid to do. And I was usually the one either on my own or designated. People say, hey, Bill, you better get up there. And I was happy to be able to do it.
Thank you for sharing examples from your personal life, Toastmaster Bill. Toastmaster Bill, a lot of guests watch our talk show. What would you want to say? Why should they consider Toastmasters? Is there a one reason or two reasons that you like to give for them to consider Toastmasters?
I think to build confidence. I think there's a lot of people out there who don't have confidence. I didn't. But with confidence, life is more enjoyable. It's more fun. You know? And you learn to be a leader, not just a follower. You know? There's a lot of so-called leaders out there who you don't want to follow. It's a lot better if you can lead the way. I'll tell a story. About 10 years ago, I was asked to speak to John Hancock in Boston. Spoke to speak about to about 125 people about Toastmasters, to put a plug in for Toastmasters. And I gave about a 10-minute presentation. And then an older man from the back held up his hand. He said, "Could I speak for a few minutes?" I didn't know who he was, and I was just a guest there. So I said, "Sure." And he came down. He said, he was looking right at all the young guys there, young people. He was saying, 21 years ago, there was a guy here. He couldn't talk. He couldn't sell. He was a mess. And he said, that was me. He's the CEO of John Hancock. And then he said, I will pay for the dues for anybody who wants to take Toastmasters.
Wow.
And they started their own club. So
amazing.
it can make a big difference. And you know, companies need ideas. If people are too afraid to let the ideas go and speak about them, then their ideas are going to get lost. So I've always said that other than getting married and having children, Toastmasters is the best thing I've ever done.
Cannot tell anything less than that, Toastmaster. Will you hit the bullseye? It's such a wonderful experience being a Toastmaster, and thank you for sharing those examples, especially at John Hancock. If the CEO said that, what impact it made, and how committed he is for developing his leaders. Thank you for sharing that powerful example. Toastmaster Bill, now I would like to test your Toastmaster skills. I would give you a product called Udl. Have you heard about Udl?
I have heard of it. I haven't tried it yet,
Okay.
but I'm
Now,
interested in it.
now the scenario is, I'll just give you a quick heads up of what that is. Udl, as you know, is an artificial intelligence tool that helps us to record our videos, our audio, and then it will find the clutch words, the pace of our speech, and if there are words that we are using a lot, if there are words that we need to avoid using, inclusivity of our speech, it does that. Now, given the product that given Toastmasters, can you sell Udl to our Toastmasters?
Well, I haven't tried it, but since it's sponsored by Toastmasters, and I know Toastmasters is a great organization and has great products, and I would have to say that this must be a great project. And of course, we are all hearing about ChatGPT and all the other AI type things that I probably should have invested in 10 years ago. But it's the future. So I think it's very important. I was eager to try it. I was going to, but I just hadn't done it. I think it can only make you better. First of all, it's subjective. I mean, of course, we have evaluations in Toastmasters, but some people may just think differently than you, and they might have their own subjective reasons why they don't like this speech or that speech, or whatever. But when you have an application, that's as objective as you can get, I think. So it can be a good thing, give you feedback. As they say, feedback is the breakfast of champions. So any feedback you can get is great. And you can't get mad if the computer says you did 7 ums. I mean, that's the fact. So you just have to learn to do better with that.
Amazing. A round of applause, Toastmaster Bill. I just give you an impromptu topic and you made a wonderful speech out of it. Thank you for showing Toastmasters in action. Toastmaster Bill, now we move to our final section, which is our rapid fire round. Are you ready for some fun?
Sure.
Toastmaster Bill, a historic leader that inspires you a lot.
Well, there's been so many. Winston Churchill comes to mind for a lot of people, I think. I mean, he was in a terrible situation. He had facing the Germans, and they were down in material, and it was bad. And many people in our own country didn't want to support him because we didn't think they were going to survive. But he roused the public with all his great speeches of, we will fight them on the beaches. We will never surrender, all that thing. And he was able to capture the heart of the British people and lead them on to victory. And, I think one of his famous quotes after the war, he said, I wasn't the lion, but I could be the lion's roar.
Wow.
That's what he was. So I think that was great.
Thank you for sharing that, Toastmaster Bill. A historic speech that inspires you a lot. Any speech that comes to mind?
Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. It's definitely a favorite. I read that speech for a Toastmasters project a few years ago. And in researching it, I found that everything that was in there was planned to be in there. It wasn't just in there by happenstance. He said, "Let freedom ring from Outlook Mountain in Tennessee." And I didn't know anything about Outlook Mountain, but Outlook Mountain was the first Union victory in the Civil War.
Got you.
Everything was there specifically with a reason. And I like that. And I think an important thing I read afterwards, that he actually read the I Have a Dream speech, because he didn't finish writing it until 4 o'clock that morning.
Wow.
So one of my little pet things that I do sometimes is a paradox. A paradox is reading a speech is poor. We've all seen someone who just looks down and talks in a monotone. That's terrible. Whoa. A good speech is read. A good speech is not read. Good speech is one-on-one. It's conversational.
Yeah.
But then the paradox, one step above, a great speech is read. The great speakers, Winston Churchill, John F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King, read the speeches. Then you have the best of both worlds. You can spend 10 hours with the rhythm and rhyme and the perfect language. And then with a good delivery, you can use the eye contact, you can use the gestures, you have it all. So that's a paradox. And I try to use that sometimes.
Beautiful paradox. I've always thought that great speeches are never read. They come from the heart. Everything is prepared, but it comes naturally. Something new that I've learned today. Toastmaster Bill, is there your personal speech that when you planned for it, when you've written the script, when you delivered the speech, when you got the feedback, you felt you did the best job? Any speech that comes to mind?
Well, perhaps that the humorous speech that I mentioned that I won a district, it was a humorous speech about my son who went to Phillips Academy here in Andover. And we're a family of modest means, but that's something that cost about $30,000 a year for high school. So it was humorous just having all the different things with like the one girl, she said to my wife, "Oh, I finally found the best place to have my hair done." My wife says, "Where's that?" She says, "London." And then, of course, the kids are too young to have cars, but they would call up from their dorms. They would rent a limousine to go get a pizza. So it was funny, all the different things, but it was true, and it was funny, and I enjoyed just relating it to people.
Thank you
I
for
called
sharing.
it "How the Other Half Lives."
Thank you for sharing that. The title is so interesting. I definitely want to hear that speech. Toastmaster Bill, a book that you like to recommend to our Toastmasters?
I think it would be Guns, Germs, and Steel. Relatively famous book. I think it won the Pulitzer Prize in 1998 by Dr. Jared Diamond. And it all started off, he was in New Guinea, and one of the New Guineans was asking, how come all England, US, they all bring cargo here to New Zealand? Why don't we have cargo? And he started thinking about that. And he spent the next 5 years looking at why a certain country's successful, others aren't, and where does it come from? And it was interesting. So he studied everything, the flora and fauna and the geography of the continents, and he basically came up, and he himself was asking, why did Europeans conquer the New World? Why wasn't the New World conquering Europe? Why wasn't Australia coming with kangaroos to conquer Africa? Never. And he basically said it came down to the resources and
Yeah.
even the shape of the different continents that made the difference. And it's a powerful argument against the racist people who would say, well, Europeans must be better. And it's just not the case.
Thank you for sharing the book, Toastmaster Bill. Definitely a wonderful read. A food that is very close to your palate that you like to eat. Any food that comes to mind?
Well, I'm pretty much a fish guy. I like
Mhm.
fish. And, swordfish, probably my favorite, salmon, cod, haddock, whatever. Although about 20 years ago, I was eating so much fish, I decided to check with my doctor because I was reading all this stuff about mercury. And he came back to me and said, yeah, your mercury is high. You need to cut it down to maybe 3 times a week. I mean, I was able to hold up my finger and tell you what the temperature was. That's an exaggeration, but I was eating a lot of fish. So I've cut back on that a little bit, but I do enjoy fish. I'm glad I'm near the ocean and not in the middle of Kansas or something.
Thank you for sharing that. And I definitely like the humor that you bring to every answer. Toastmaster Bill, a restaurant that you like to recommend to have a good time with friends and family? Any restaurant that you like to share with us?
Well, perhaps this is perhaps a repetition in a sense, but legal seafood. I've always, the seafood chain. I've always enjoyed going there. Their chowder, fish chowder is great. Clam chowder, really enjoy it. And they're a classy restaurant, and my wife and I have always enjoyed it there. And so that would be my recommendation.
Thank you for sharing a wonderful restaurant, Toastmaster Bill. This wraps up our rapid fire round. Is there anything else that you like to share with our district, Toastmaster Bill?
Well, perhaps I'm thinking right now about performance anxiety a lot because I'm working on a seminar with a psychologist friend, and so many people are anxious about this thing or other. Even experienced Toastmasters can be anxious if all of a sudden they're in a situation they've never been in before. Or they get surprised because of certain people in the audience or whatever. But there are really a lot of solutions to that. And I would really urge people to look up what those solutions are because they are out there and you don't have to just suffer or you don't have to just withdraw. You can do it.
Are you considering presenting at CLCon 2023, Toastmaster Bill?
I am on performance anxiety. I only have a few days to try to get something ready to put my application in. I am thinking of it. I don't know.
Please do put in your paper on that. That would be amazing. Toastmasters, CLCon 2023 starts on April 29th and goes until May 6th. Please be part of CLCon and you can hear Toastmaster Bill give his fabulous speech on speech anxiety and social anxiety. The Toastmasters, that wraps up our interview with Toastmaster Bill. Toastmaster Bill, you could have been anywhere in the world, but you choose to come down and talk to us. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Very welcome. Thank you, Veera.
Thank you. Dear Toastmasters, that was a wonderful interview with Toastmaster Bill. If you would like to come down and talk to us, please do mention your name in our comment section. We'll make sure to contact you. Please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing to our YouTube channel. Your subscriptions give us the encouragement to create new content, different content for our district. That note, stay safe, enjoy yodeling, and we'll see you at CLCon 2023. Until then, bye bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks very much.